All right, quite a few people have asked us how we were able to swim our stream our swim meets. I'm going to show you one way using OBS, which is a broadcast software that's free, open source. We actually use a little bit different thing that's a paid software, but they work very similarly. And if you guys wanted to do the more complex version, I could show you that too. But you could just give me an email. That one allows me to do things like put names on the bottom of the screens, that kind of stuff. But this will be a simple setup. Most people have one camera and they're trying to figure out how to stream, so I was just going to walk through it. First of all, you got to go to Google and create an account. So here, I'm just showing you the Google Create Account page. I already created one for Rio Swim Live, so you would just go through these steps, create an account for the swim team you're going to do, and then after 24 hours, it will give you the ability to stream to YouTube. So make sure you go and do the account creation early. You can't do it the day of the event. You won't have the ability to stream because must be a verification thing for YouTube and Google or whatever. But so go ahead and create your account. So the second thing I did was I go ahead and created some landing pages, just a little bit of, you can see on our page we have some little display cards that let you know what event it is, or a title page, or whatever you want to call it. So I've been doing that with Canva. So you can just go to canva.com. Over here, I already have an account for Rio Swim Live, but you could go ahead and just click sign up over here in the upper right corner. I'm going to go ahead and log in with my existing account. There we go. See how it says Rio Swim Live. So when you first log in, it's going to show you a bunch of different things, like little walkthrough and that kind of thing. But I've already done that. So for me, and you can be able to find your way here too. You want to do create a design up here in the corner. So I'm going to do click up here in the right, click create a design. I want to do custom size. So I know my screen size is a 1920 by 1080. So I'm going to do create a custom size 1920. This is pretty standard stuff. 1080 and create design. There you go. Now, even if I know some people are going to run a laptop, but I would do 1920 by 1080 anyways. I'll show you when I get to OBS why, because the way OBS is set up, you're probably going to run 1920 by 1080 as the creation style. Although you could do 720, whatever you choose, but I do 1920 by 1080 on this computer. I don't need any of that. So we're just going to go over here, and I'm scrolling down. Now you can play with this thing and you can do anything. Like you can pick all these from these free backgrounds. See how it jumped it in there, this, that. You can play around and do all sorts of stuff. But for simplicity's sake, I'm just going to do, start here with a blue. Well, let's not do that. Let's do, we can just do, oh, sorry. So let me throw this away. I probably confused you because I had pulled in a couple of those other things. So every time you click something to pull in for the background, it's going to pull it and start layering it on top of each other. So when I had pulled in that flower thing to show you guys what it was like, that's why I pulled it in. So right here, I'm going to do, I'm just going to pull in a color for the background. We'll just do blue. Boom. All right, now you can search through all sorts of stuff here. They have gradients and images and whatever. You can pull in your own custom images, those kinds of things. But we'll just do this little blue square for now. And then I'm just going to add something else just for fun. just to give you an idea what's going on, we're going to pull in this square. You can see I pulled in a square. I'm going to change its shape. I mean its color. See up here on the left, I'm just going to turn it green. That's like the Rio green. Now over here I can stretch it, shape it however I want, rotate. We'll just put that in the middle of our screen. Alright, again, for your thing it'd be whatever you want. I'm going to go over to the text over here on the left side, and I'm going to use this largest text, pull it in. I can move it wherever I want. I could have just started typing in anything. So Rio swim live. All right, I can do up here. You can see right above. You can see here's your font size. Let's just go maximum. And we'll stretch this a little bit. You can see as I'm moving around, it's going to give me this little, when that red light lit up, that's put me on center. Put it here. I can pick a different font. It can be whatever font I want, extra bold, script. Some of these would be paid software, some are free, but we're just in the free version. So I'm going to pick that font. I'm going to do an effect. I'm going to do this splice, I should say. See, now we have an interesting effect. You can play all around with colors. Like I could pick green in there. I could pick the blue, so it kind of matches there. But I'm going to go back to gray. I kind of like the way the gray looks. So we'll pick this gray. All right, cool. So now once you've created one of these, or you could create a couple, I'm just going to use the one and show you a couple of ways to pull it in to maybe do a lower third or an overall start image or whatever it might be. All right, once I've created something I like, go ahead and hit the download button. And you can see it wants to do a PNG, which is fine. It's a little bit higher quality, but for a stream, it doesn't really matter. I'm going to click JPEG and download, and then it's going to push that into my download files on my machine. All right, so now we're going to go to the interesting thing. All right, so I'll have a link in the description. You're going to download and install OBS, right? So I'm going to open that. Here's my little tab. You can see I have other things set up in OBS. Yours will come up blank if for the very first time, but I didn't want to uninstall my original stuff. So anyways, over here in the scene collection button, you can see I have the menus at the top. I'm going to do a new scene, and I'm going to call it Rio Swim Live. All right, so the machine's going to think a little sec, and there we go. So from experience, I know that in this particular case, I've done it over with Rio. If I only have one camera, and I happen to be lucky enough to have the camera shot covering my pool swimmers, and I can still see the scoreboard in that same view, I want to be able to do picture in a picture, so I can have the wide view and then a zoom down on the scoreboard itself. So, knowing from experience, since I only have one camera, excuse me, I'm only want to pull the camera in once, and then I'll reflect it as many scenes as possible. You'll get the sense as I go along what I'm talking about here. But so anyways, over here, you'll have to have a scene no matter what. So it starts with one scene. I'm just going to rename it so I know what it is. I'm going to call it Camera. All right, so I go to camera scene. All right, so these are the scenes. That's the different looks, and what composes a scene is over here in the sources, right? So you can see at the bottom here I have the plus minus. That means I can add, subtract the properties of the different scenes, and then up and down, lower on the order. So I'll show you all what that means as we go. So but for this one, all I'm going to do is put the camera in once, and it's just going to be the camera scene. It's not going to have anything else involved. That way, I'll show you in a minute. I'll be able to pull that into other sources. I can use the camera scene as a source. So for me, I know this camera is set up as capture device. So I want to go video capture device. Now I've pulled these things in many different ways. NDI sources, through network. If you're going to do that, you're going to have to do a little bit of research, because we use network cameras for our production so that we can have 2 cameras, 3 cameras far out in the pool, 300-400 feet, 500 feet away from us, depending on how we got it set up. Again, you have to learn a little about networking and how far you can go, but they're basically network cameras. But for this thing, I have a camera directly plugged to this computer, and I know, so I'm going to do video capture device. Click. And mine, it defaulted to the USB, which is the camera. Now you can see me. So basically, this is the camera hooked directly to my computer, and you can see I have this image. Now, depending how we have this set up, this image is going to come in at a certain kind of scale. So you can see if I grab one of these corners and slide, I can change the size. So I want to make it fit. The reason I show you this is depending on what the output of your camera is set at, the image might be smaller than your area or bigger. So you can shrink it or you can make it larger. Now you can also crop, which we'll do in a minute when we set up another page. But cropping is done by, you hold down the Alt button and then you grab one of these little tabs. See, I cropped myself out of the image, and I'll put myself back. So once I have the camera set where I want to go, if you go along here in the sources, the video camera device, I'm going to click on this little lock. Now I can't move it or change its size, right? So it's all good there. Alright, so now I have a camera shot. Again, the reason I did this is so that I can pull this as a source into any other scenes I want, but I still only have one camera input instead of trying to pull in multiple inputs off the same device. Just pulled it in the one time. All right, so over here, I probably should have started with, we'll go over the settings in a minute, but maybe I should have started with settings. Here we're going to go over to the settings button and do the video settings, and then we'll get the other settings as we go to things. So for my particular case, I have my base setting is the resolution that my computer's running. Right here, it's 1920 by 1080. That's my screen. Yours might be different here. You can set it whatever you want. Like, see, I can run this at different settings, but 1920 by 1080 is my default resolution for this particular machine right now. And then see how it says output resolution scaled. So this is what you would be outputting to when you stream. So I would recommend, if you have a powerful computer like my machine I'm using now, then you can go full 1080. But say it's you're having problems pushing all the way out, like you're when you start streaming, you're having a problem streaming, you can lower this to 720. Most people are going to watch this on a phone or even a laptop. They're not going to really notice that you're scaling out your output. So anyways, I would scale there, and then this downscale filter, depending on how powerful your computer is, you can lower this down and down and down. Again, it affects your quality, but it will allow you to stream out with less push, less work being done by the computer. Depends on how powerful your computer is. And then the frame rate here, I'm just going to run 30. It'll run. You could do 60 frames a second, but 30 is, well, you and I can't really see past 30, and for what we're doing here, it's not really a problem. Like maybe if we're streaming video games or something, we want to run a higher frame rate. But anyways, all right, I just wanted to apply that just so you understood what was going on with that would affect the size of the screen we're looking at here. So if it was 720, here, let me show you. Just so you understand what I'm talking about. Go back to, I'm sorry, I'm going to go back to video. If I set this to 720 and I say apply, you can see how my screen, the scale doesn't look the same. I just bumped my scaling. So you can see now my image doesn't quite fit in the 720 scale. So I would adjust to make it work. All right, if that makes sense. But I'm going to go back and run a full 1080. Just wanted to show you this because a lot of this stuff, if it doesn't match up, it'll look a little confusing. So your computer might have its whatever it's called, its native resolution might not be the same, right? So everything gets a little confusing. So you just kind of have to match everything up. So anyways, now I'm going to go back and adjust my image back to fit the screen again. All right, cool. So now I have my camera back in again. All right, so now let's start building a scene. We're going to do, well, let's just do them in order. So let's say I wanted to have an intro slide. So I'm going to go back over to here to scenes again. I'm going to create a new scene and I'm just going to call it intro. All right, you can see when I activate camera, I get the camera back. When I activate intro, here we go, it's blank because I haven't put any sources into it. So first of all, I'm going to put, I created that slide earlier for Canva, so we're going to go here and we're going to pick image. Again, you can play around with all these things and it can do quite a bit more, but, and then we're going to go here and then we're going to search this file. I know it's in downloads. This is the newest one I created with you. Say OK. Again, depending on scaling, you might have to adjust to make this fit, but I did 1080 when I designed the slide, and 1080 is what my native resolution is, so it just fits right on there. So you can see now I have the real swim live slide. I'm going to lock that because that's the position I want it to be. And then I'm going to add, let's add a little audio. You can see I'm going to add a little audio music first. So music will be in media source, right? These audio inputs, I'll go over those in a second. Those are for capturing microphones and the audio directly off your machine. But what we really want to do here is we're just going to go to media source and we're going to go OK, and we're going to search around for a piece of audio. You can see I have silly stuff from different things I do. So if I go to sounds, I'm going to pick one that I know is there, and you can see now, you can see it here in the middle audio mixer. It's bouncing back and forth, playing the music. I know this is like non-licensed music, so I can play it over the internet without having any problems. You have to be careful with that, right? Like if you play a modern song here, you might get in trouble and they might copyright bounce you, which usually just means that you can't monetize it. We're not trying to make any money, but again, sometimes you might be trying to make a little money, so you want to be careful. But also sometimes, depending on what music you pick, if you pick like real modern music, you might be in trouble with them and they might stop your stream. So just be careful what you choose here. So anyways, you can see tapping out here all the way on this meter. I know that I just want this to be like background music when it streams out, so I'm just going to push it down so there's a little bit of music there. You're not hearing this because if I put it into my recording, it'll just create an audio loop and it will just have feedback, and we don't really want that. But trust me, if you can see this input right here, if we were on the other end of the stream, we would definitely be hearing it. So okay, so say you want to be able to make announcements during this slide before the swim meet starts or whatever, you can also add a microphone. So I have audio input capture here, audio input capture, then I can select the microphone, and you can see I'm going to pick the microphone I'm using to talk to you guys right now, and there it is. You can see as I talk, it jumps up and down, and it's at a level higher than the background music, so it would push over the top of the background music. Just be careful if you don't really have a way to mute your microphone. I have a mute button on this particular headset, but if you didn't, you might you know, say stuff you don't want to. It is better to have a mutable microphone, maybe one with a switch on it or whatever, or you could have this could be a audio board that's hooked into your computer. There's a lot of interfaces, however you're going to do it. This is simply just a USB headset punched right into the computer. So anyway, so I decided I like these three choices. So you can see when I go back to my camera, all that music and my microphone dropped out, but you can see there I am. And then when I click on intro, now this will be playing. So what you're looking at when you select a scene is what the stream will push. So right now the people on the other stream would hear me talking, hear a little background music, and see the Rio Swim live slide. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to create our main output, right? Which is what the parents are going to see when we swim. So I'm just going to call it main out. You can call it whatever you want. So again, creates a blank. So we have a scene but no sources, right? All right, so here's the thing I was showing you a little earlier. I'm going to add a scene source because I already created the camera as a scene, and I'll show you why as we do it. So I'm going to grab the camera. There it is. It just popped up. Now, even though the camera itself, when I go back, see how this is locked, I can't do anything with it. But when I'm in my main out, it's this, and I'm on the camera, I can move it all around if I needed to. So, all right, so I'm going to lock that in. I like that. This would be our pool shot, let's say. So rather than seeing me, you're seeing the pool. All your lanes, hopefully everything fits in there. Sometimes it's tough to find a place to get your camera, you know, but luckily we use pretty wide angle lens cameras, right? But a lot of times you're not going to have access to that, so you might have to get creative on your camera placement. All right, so we like this camera choice for our main camera shot. I'm going to freeze it, so now I can't adjust it. All right, now I'm just going to do something silly. Say you want to create a lower third, meaning, you know, your team's name, logo below, something like that. I'm just going to use the same slide we already created, but you could create a second one, a third one, and I'll show you how to manipulate that. So we're going to pull in the image, say OK. We're going to go back to our downloads where I have my image. I'm going to grab it again. You can see I pulled in the Rio Swim Live logo that I created. Now it's covering up the camera, but what we can do is by holding the Alt button, I push down the Alt button. Now I can crop the bottom. I'm going to crop the top. I'm going to crop the bottom. I'm going to slide this down. And now I created a lower third. So now it says Rio Swim Live. This would be at the bottom of your image that you're pushing out. Now I'm going to show you something. So you can see the sources. They're in descending order, meaning the image that the source that's on top, the highest on the list, is the source that's on top of what you're looking at. See, I'll demonstrate that by pushing this down button. When I pushed the image down below, that means in the order of layers, it has pushed down the image, that Rio image. So now I don't see it, but if I push it back up, it appears. So you can go through and under these sources and move them up and down the list to make them stack however you want, right? Because I want the image of me that you're looking at, which would be the pool camera, to be on the bottom, right? So that I can see the Rio Swim Live. So the other thing in our pool, we're very lucky, is that when we have had to run with one camera, when I have the straight shot across the lanes, I also can see the scoreboard, right? So if you were, what I've done in the past is pulled the scoreboard scene, or the camera scene in again, right? So to pull it in, pick camera, pull it in a second time. Now you can see it's popped over the top. But as I showed you, we can, by holding the Alt button down, I can crop this image. You'll see I'm holding the Alt when I do it. I crop the image. So now I'm surrounded, say this was where my face is right now is the scoreboard. It'll pop out more as I do it. Now I can resize this. See, it's the same camera, but I've picked a defined area that would just be the scoreboard, and I can put it up here in the corner. All right, so think of it as picture in the picture. We use the same camera twice. We have the camera that is the main pool image, and then we've cropped the same one because we happen to be lucky and the scoreboard is in the same area. Now, if you're really lucky, some of you, or lucky they're not, so our scoreboards are very old. Some of these scoreboards come with outputs, meaning that the board is designed to actually push something out that you can grab a hold of. So you'd have to do a little research to figure out what it is. But say it was a website, right? It was literally like a web page that pushes your image of your scoreboard, right, to the world. You can grab it via over here. You could do let's see. You'd have to search through and find the different sources and the one that matches what you're talking about, right? So for me, we're using video capture device. You can look through and you can find different things that are compatible with the output of what you're doing. Meaning, like, I'm going to pick a browser. So now I've just installed a browser to be a video scene, right? And now it's going to ask me what browser I want. So say, hey, I'm just going to pick NFL.com just because it's easy for me to do. But this might be a browser location of your thing. All right. So again, the output source size of what you're dealing with is definitely going to be different than you'd have to do some research to figure out what you're putting out, right? But anyways, you can see I grabbed the web page for the NFL, right? So this could be, if this was a scoreboard, if you're lucky, it's a web output. It could be so anyways, it's not this. If you're lucky, it's an easy thing to get to, but it could be a networking thing, like that you'll have to do a little research and to find out how to get a network pulled into OBS. I know it can be done because I've done it with cameras, and it's like I believe I'm going to remove it because we don't have it. But I believe the network input is somewhere like as in might be as a media source that you have to play around with. But anyways, if you're lucky to have a scoreboard that outputs its own output, you just have to figure out how to get to it. All right. Again, I've done it once, and it was like a network location that I had to grab. So anyways, just wanted to mention that. All right, so now I have an output of, so imagine the big image of me is your pool shot, and the small image of me is now the scoreboard that you're able to zoom in and out on. You don't need any of this stuff. You could just have the one camera shot if you want, but it just looks a little bit better. You could also do silly things like you could have created a like a background that is just whatever, blue or something. Here, well, I'll show you what I mean by that, and put that behind the camera to the scoreboard to make it pop a little bit. We're just going to use the same image again to show you what I'm talking about. I'm going to browse. I'm going to grab this image and I'm going to say OK. I'm going to start shaping it to how I want it to be. I'm going to cut and paste it. Now, if I put it, watch what happens when I put it one below that camera shot. Now you can see it appears below the camera shot, and I can play around with it to make it do whatever I want. So now I have the scoreboard with a little blue border just to pop that out a little bit more, whatever you want to do. So there's all sorts of things you can learn to do as you play around with it, but just a little simple thing. So now I have intro slide, main out. So again, main out, we might want to put some music. We're definitely, if you're going to announce names, you would put your microphone. So we're going to add audio input. We're going to put this headset back in. All right, so you can see now that my microphone that I'm wearing here is popping in and out on that screen. So now this, when I start streaming this audio will, microphone will go across the stream. You can have background music, whatever you decide to do. Just play around with it and have fun. All right, so now let's go ahead and set up a stream because we haven't done that. So anyways, we have our setup that we want here. I'm going to just minimize it. I'm going to go to YouTube page. I have already set up a YouTube page account, but here I'll just, so you go to sign in if you're not already signed in. And it'll ask you for your email and password, but I'm automatically kind of done. So when I signed in, it popped me in. But so now I'm at YouTube, signed in as Rio Swim Live. Up here on the right, I go to this little create button, and I'm going to click Go Live. All right, it's going to give it a second to think. It's going to we'll just give it a sec. Here we go. Now this is our Go Live stream page for Rio Swim Live. So right here, you're going to first thing you want to do is click on this edit. You're going to put in the information you want. This last time I streamed was the invitational meet. So you'd put in the title, all that kind of stuff. And down here it says public. I'm going to change it to private so I can show you a stream without my subscribers seeing that we're messing around. And then you could do here, you can pick an image as you go down. Scroll down, it says thumbnail. I'm going to click change. I'm going to click that little thumbnail we made earlier, and then I'm going to keep scrolling down. Now I say not for kids. The reason why I do that is if you do for kids, it won't let your swimmers download the there's a function that you can download video clips from YouTube. So if you say yes, it's for kids, they smartly say, all right, well, this is for children. We don't want children to be able to download it because they could fill up their parents' hard drive, those kind of things. So that's why you put no for kids right here. Now we don't have any age limit. We don't see when it does the age limit. We say no. We'll let people under 18 look at it, right? So we're going to leave that to make sure that's no. We don't have any age restrictions. But the no for kids, as I said again, is it doesn't allow people to download your info. But kids might want to come back and download their swim for recruiting or whatever it might be. And we're not getting paid, so we don't clip that. The only little tag I wanted to put up was Rio Swim. We could put whatever more tags, your swim club, your whoever. You could tag probably different things, different Facebook, whatever. And then you can slide down here, put dates and things like that. I don't need any of that. And we say save. All right. So now we're set. This is a Rio Invitational, but we're private. So when we go ahead and make this stream go, we are not going to push out to my subscribers. It'll just be a private stream. All right. So you can see around here, you have your stream key. We're going to leave that to default variable, so that way whatever level of output we're pushing is it can adjust based on how much a bandwidth is available. So we can see stream URL. First I'm going to copy that. So when I go back to here we go, we're back in OBS. When we go to settings, we're going to go ahead and create a stream. So this is for a different thing, but we're going to do YouTube, right? Luckily, it'll let us just push to the primary YouTube stream URL. So it says server. We don't have to actually fill that in. That's great. So then we're going to go back to the YouTube. What we really need then is this stream key right here. We're going to copy this stream key, and then we're going to go back to OBS, and we're going to paste it in here. So now we have this. We are going to YouTube with the stream key for Rio Swim Live, and then we say apply, and we say OK. Now we're just gonna go to the settings. I'm gonna run you through a little bit of this. So we're gonna go output. All right, so leave it in output simple mode at first. So bitrate is how much information you want to do across your network, right? So I'm doing 3000, which is like a low-level HD movie. Depending on what your bandwidth, I'll show you in a minute, we can measure your bandwidth. You might need to lower or raise this, right? Depending on how much you can push. The higher here, you don't really go above 5000 because most encoders don't really want to see that much more. You can go to about 6, but I'm going to set this at 1500 at first. And then your encoder, I happen to have a hardware encoder on this machine. Depending on what your machine is, you might have one if you have an onboard video card, but probably not going to have one. So you would do software encoding. The audio bit rate, like 128 is normal, but we're running 96 because we're not really worried about super high quality audio. It'll be just fine. So then also we want to click, I want to take, for you guys, I would disable, see where it says enable advanced hardware encoding settings. I'm going to click that off, and then I'm going to apply. So, all right, we said okay. So now we have given the, we've picked YouTube and we gave it a stream key. If I click start streaming, when I push back to the Rio Swim Live page, let's see what happens. You can see we got an excellent connection coming through. Now, this will be about 30 seconds off of your stream. There's always a little bit of lag built in for buffering and stuff, but you can see now if I enlarge this, now you can see that I've pushed the stream, and let's see where we're getting right now. We're getting 720 just like we have set up to be the output level, right? So there we go. Now you're streaming a swim meet. All right. You do want to have this page open on a machine. It doesn't have to be the machine you're streaming from, so that you can see that everything is going, right? So I usually do it on the same machine, but if you have limited whatever resources, then set it up on bring a second laptop in, set it to the internet, go to your YouTube studio, which is when you sign a YouTube page, you get that. We clicked on that little camera to go live. So there you go. Now we're streaming, and you can see up here when we're done, we click this end stream button up here on the YouTube page, and it'll end the stream. Now things are gonna happen. Systems are gonna they're gonna, like, I don't know, for lack of a better term, they're gonna like burp, and so you might have to restart the stream. So why I have it set up this way is this is just going directly to the Rio Swim Live page. So when you direct people to the your swim page, whatever's live they'll appear in the live section, the video section, right? A lot of times people want to create an individual. You can do that over here. If I clicked on this, I could schedule a stream with an individual URL. But the problem I've discovered there is that if I create an individual event with its own URL, and we have a problem, that URL goes dead, and then when the people go back to that same URL, say we push that, advertise that as our output, it'll be dead, and they'll be like, "Where's my thing?" But if we just tell people to go to our Rio Live page, whatever's live, no matter how many times we had to restart the stream, it'll be there. So anyways, hope this was kind of helpful. I'm going to end this stream. All right. It's going to ask me a question, and I'm going to say I can edit things down in Studio or not, and I'm going to dismiss that one. It's up to you what you want to do there. I'm going to minimize all this, go back to OBS. So you can also set up to record, meaning you could just click this second button. It'll default record to your, so if I click on it, now I'm also recording this as well as streaming it, right? So say there was a problem where your stream didn't work that well, you can always just publish the recording later, right? So it's a good idea to record if your computer is powerful enough, right? You're gonna have to discover if your computer has enough powerful enough chip, or your internet network is powerful enough to push all this, right? So I'm going to stop recording, stop streaming, because I'm not streaming anything. So let me show you one last thing. So I'm going to minimize this, go back here. One thing you probably want to know is, so you're over at the pool, you might want to know this before you start, is type in what's my speed, go to this speed test, click on it, and it'll tell you what your up and down speeds are. Oh, well, looks like my network's just having a little problem today. There we go. Let's let it go. And then click. There it goes. So I got whatever 160 up, which is 160 megabits, right? So when we were setting that the streaming to 1500, that so this is in megabits, that was in kilobits, right? So you have to adjust. So here we go. My upload speed is only 11, so I could safely go up at an upload speed of 3000 kilobits, let's say. That's like a 1/3 of my upload capability. So I could even probably go to 5,000, but 3,000 would go pretty good. So let me show you what I'm talking about again. I showed you that, but here it is. And settings. Output. Oop. 1,500. So while you're there doing testing, you can set this up. The higher the level, the better the image quality would be, especially with moving objects. But there will be diminishing returns above, say, 6,000. So, all right. Well, good luck to you.